This week, coming up from the ashes.
Like, just make sure you're with, someone. And even better if, like, they have experience with the game because, they're already used to the madness. Make sure to have a guiding hand. Unless you have the mental fortitude of Batman, then best of luck to you when you enter the fog. Because
Sorry.
you are unbreakable.
Yeah, exactly. Those are a lot of good tips. Well, hey everyone, how are you doing? Why don't you pull up a chair, sit alongside a nice hot fire, even on a nice summer day or spring day, and join us as we talk about the wonderful game of Dead by Daylight. Joining me it's going to be a more intimate setting today. It's just going to be myself and my co-host. We're basically literally evenly host right now, and that would be Arson. How you doing, brother?
You already know.
Yeah. He's yawning a little bit, so I had to wake him up and be like, come on, man, let's do this. But yeah, so we're gonna be talking about Dead by Daylight for basically the year 9 roadmap and beyond. And then, other things that's going on with like changes in the game and whatnot. And so that's what it's gonna be about. You want to start with what's currently going on in Dead by Daylight right now?
What aside from the 2v8?
The 2v8 is back out and raring, and they've added a couple new. What was it? Just one or two? Did they add two? Two. They've added
two new killers.
Yes. So
Oni and Ghostface.
That's it. Yeah. So they've added Oni and Ghostface to the 2v8. Arson and I we decided to test our gumption with the new 2v8 this round, and we've never did this before as killers, and so we decided to go at it. And don't hold this against me, because I would never use this character outside of 2v8, but and I was using the Resident Evil version, Hunk. So I was using the Legion, and he was for the most part using Trapper, but also using excuse me, Nemesis. And we did rather well through that. Like we had our first loss last night, like a definitive loss, where we only killed like 4 of the 8. And I feel like if you only get half of them, that's a definitive loss. For escape, So it's unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. But I'm enjoying it. The one thing I'm not enjoying, though, is the extremely long queue times for killer. Like, I get it, because everybody's wanting to play killer on 2v8, but 18 to 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, more than 10 minutes for waiting just to play a game, and then having the prospect of them just getting away is such a maddening fact. The devs are unknowingly making the killers even more toxic by having it like this.
You're not wrong either, because we talked about this last night. Like, so I streamed for about 2.5 hours last night, and in those 2.5 hours, we got 5 matches in. Like, what?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it was just crazy. And what Arson said about the the queue times and it's driving killers to be more toxic. I get it, because when I play killer originally, I play good doctor, and I usually have fun, let people go, because it's a lot easier to get into a match as a killer, by yourself for most of the time. But then you go into this mode, and you don't want to waste your opportunity. Basically, was what Arson's saying.
Yeah, like killers are going to be toxic if they already normally are when they play killer, but like I'm wording it poorly. What I'm saying is people who play killer don't want to wait 20 minutes to get into a game just to be friendly.
Right.
At least the majority. Like there's probably like the very small 0.1% that like want to be friendly. And then there's an even smaller percent that both of the killers want to be friendly. I feel bad for the 1% that have to be stuck with a partner that isn't going to kill after you waited 20 minutes to find a match. It's a real shame because there are a couple ways they can they can offset this. Um, like I think for like solo queues, because like I know there's only like one killer allowed per uh match, and I think the meta right now is like what Blight and Nurse. That's like the meta right now.
It seems like it, yeah.
Haven't done Survivor yet, but that seems to be like the major like pick for like killing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
At least the safe bet. And I don't know, they could like try and uh balance it out to like, maybe at this point just increase the survivor blood point bonus by like 1000%. I think
Yeah.
that would definitely get people switching their changing their tune.
Or at least double it
Uh
to 600%.
yeah. And I don't I'm trying to think of ways to get the killer side jump started. Maybe specific killers you play have a higher blood point percentage, so it like the servers don't get clogged. I don't know if that'll do something maybe.
Yeah.
uh, and maybe fix your servers a bit.
Fix them, please.
'Cause, I swear, man, I keep thinking like naively that oh well we have two killers in the lobby now, so finding a lobby just has to be automatic.
Right. And like he said, we have not tried our hand at the survivor mode yet to this. And they do have some new stuff. Okay, before we get into that, they reworked the way that they hook in for the killer in 2v8. And I haven't got to see a good view of this until last night. Like, so basically when you hook somebody in this 2v8 version now, you basically have their crotch in your face. And I couldn't see it, like, but I saw a clip last night from the survivor's point of view, and it does look so cool. Like, it really does. I like it. But other than that, nothing's really changed on that side. Uh, on the survivor side, they've got a new thing, right? And what is that?
They have a crystal that they can throw down and have a little, like, dome, like a small dome smoke effect where, like, the killers are just completely blind in it. Now, it's not exactly your Deus Ex Machina. They can still kind of outsmart you in that sense. I've done it plenty of times, or plenty of times in the sense that of the games we actually got into.
Yeah.
But it is definitely best used in like enclosed spaces, in like maybe the shack or like jungle gyms, like those
Mm-hmm.
those are when it's best used. Like just giving you advice right now as like from the killer perspective, because if you use it like in an open loop or space, it's not really going to be hard to pinpoint where you are regardless
Yeah.
of the lack of vision.
You know what I've noticed? I've noticed a lot of people throw that and then kind of squat down and just hope that they don't see you, like right next to you. Like
Yeah,
they
no,
did.
that doesn't make you invisible or invincible, so quit it.
Yeah. So I just started swinging in the cloud. Um, like there's another thing. If you're Legion and you go into your power and you're already in your power, and you hit somebody and they throw one of those things, that does not take away the little bleep at all. So I still see like people that like after say okay, so say I go into my power and I hit somebody, my frenzy, and as I'm chasing after another one, and that person drops the crystal. they're like thinking, haha, they can't see me. No, I can see you bright. Like literally, like all I gotta do is swing at you and boom, you're gone. And then I go on to the next one. And that's what I was doing last night. Because so we played a couple nights ago, and to be fair, I seen them using those crystals, but it didn't dawn on me until yesterday when we were playing. I was like, what is that? Like, is that new? And they were like, yeah, it's new. Like, oh, Arson had to explain it to me. So, but overall, I've got a really good feel for this. We talked about this, and Arson, and I both believe that they're gearing up to, keep doing the 2v8. Like, so on the Gear 10 roadmap that's out right now from June 2025 through April, they have planned 2 more 2v8s, one after this one in August and one in November. I'm hoping my doctor's in there, but I highly doubt it.
Oh, dude, if there's a killer that's gotta be in there, it's gonna have to be Bubba, man.
Yeah,
It's finally going to be his time to shine.
yeah. Well, hey, it'd be kind of cool is if they actually, so like the 2v8 in September, well, like in August, lines up with the new killer survivor chapter in September. Wouldn't that be awesome if the new killer was actually like brought into the 2v8? Which I don't think it will. It's supposed to line up pretty well. So, but I don't know. That's just me wishful thinking. It'd probably be more November if it happened because the chapter comes out and then 2v8 comes out in November from what it looks like.
Yeah.
But they're gonna show love to other people, and I think you're right. Bubba and Hillbilly out there, oof, that'd be interesting.
The Chainsaw Brothers.
Yeah, they out. But since we're on it right now, let's go into the roadmap for this year. Matter of fact, as you are looking at this on YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and post the roadmap up there, and I think I'm going to leave it up there for the remainder of the time so you guys can follow along with us as we're going. So June, we've got a new killer and a new map. It's not saying new realm, it's just saying new map, which if you guys don't know the difference, a new realm is basically a whole new area to go to. So, like if you like when they brought out Michael Myers, they brought out Haddonfield. That's a new realm. So when they brought out the Garden of Joy, I can't remember the name of the actual map. It's something else. And then they brought out was it the Unknown? And then they brought out a new map that went into the realm of the Garden of Joy. So that being said, there is not going to be a new realm for the Five Nights at Freddy's chapter, which is in June. That is the anniversary chapter. But we're getting a new killer and a new survivor. Not survivor, a new killer and a new map. And we already know that the killer we're getting is none other than the brains behind it all, Springtrap. So what do you think of that, about their decision to bring that out and everything?
Oh, I think they did everything right. I'm just extremely concerned about how it's all going to play out because there are some valid concerns. One of them being like, we're going to get nothing but Springtrap for like a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
The matches are going to be nothing but Springtrap. And
I mean,
while I am one to tolerate like the fatigue, like it doesn't really matter. Like it's very apparent that a lot of people get tired of that very, very fast.
yeah.
Which is why I like with the whole ghoul thing,
Phew,
uh,
gosh.
it's been nothing but ghouls since he came out, and not just because of anime fans, but because he was like an actually decent killer. Um,
He's just so fast.
Yeah, like probably he has the most accurate mobility in the game aside from Nurse, and that's why he was such a problem is because you know he was an actually good, reliable killer that didn't have any gimmicks that didn't have many downsides to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and that's definitely what Springtrap is going to have, since they already outed the fact that he's going to have like a unique power, probably going to be the most unique power in the whole game, and that's probably going to be like as long as it's engaging as an ability to try and fight against, I don't really care. But if it's going to be something that's like going to be abused, then it's just something we're gonna have to live with for like the next month because that's all we're going to get.
Yeah. Like it's crazy because when the Ghoul came out, we got the Ghoul, if not more than 12 times in a row. And then it just kept on going from there. Like we get like maybe a hillbilly or something, and then we'd go back to Ghoul for 8 more matches, and it got so tired and it got so bad that they've already nerfed him twice. And he's still so OP. And the funny thing is I want to bring this up, like at the bottom of the roadmap for this year, they've got ongoing gameplay improvements and balancing, and then ongoing quality of life improvements. So I want to focus on the balancing thing. They're trying to balance the game better, but yet then they come out with these killers that like unbalance the game, like tip the scales, And I feel like Springtrap's going to do that. I hate to say that, but I do believe he's going to. Um, I like the fact that they're bringing out a legendary skin for Springtrap that is Matthew Lillard, and he's voiced by Matthew Lillard, and he like got his own unique lines and everything. And one thing that I wish that they put in that is just one line, like if he messes up, like, oh, my mom and dad's gonna be ticked. I'm not gonna say. Of course, that'd go back to Ghostface, but still. uh, but uh, but yeah, I am looking forward to this. I've never been big into the FNAF scene, but it looks pretty interesting. And there's a few maps that they're thinking that the new map is going to go over, and one of them I already mentioned, and that's the Garden of Joy map, like in that realm. And that would make the most sense because you have the movie cinema in there, and they can convert that into the Freddy Fazbear whatever pizzeria or whatever it's called. And is that what it's called? Freddy Fazbear's?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that makes the most sense. But they're also talking, which this is a little more far-fetched, is the Knights map. They said that they could convert that into that, which if that's the case, then that would give you almost like a 2-leveled area to where you could like get that if it is Vecna's map, okay? Or not Vecna's, or is that Vecna's? No, Vecna's is that is Vecna's,
Well,
isn't it?
Vecna did come out. Are you talking about the map in, I guess, the Knight's realm,
Yeah.
technically, where
Yeah.
it was like the tower and it had the portals?
Yeah. So
Yeah, then that was Vecna.
yeah, okay. So
Unfortunately.
take out the portals, and then you have the entrance to the pizzeria. I just don't see it though. And there's a couple other rumors of which other maps there are, but I didn't really go down that rabbit hole too much. The one that makes sense the most is the Garden of Joy one, using that, at least in my brain, So, I guess we'll just have to wait to see,
I mean, again, it's just one of those things where, like, yeah, I don't know. It like the waiting time for killers is going to be even worse. So you wouldn't
Yeah.
even be able to play your doctor even if you wanted to, because so many people, both old and new, because this is like probably going to be the chapter that brings in the most like newest players.
Yeah.
They're all going to be scrambling to play Springtrap, and it's going to be an absolute mess. I wouldn't be surprised if like the game just imploded from how many new people just come into the game.
Yeah. And the thing is see, we have 3 licensed chapters this year, or this roadmap, year 10, and only 2 new killers, but you know, within those licensed chapters. But you're not wrong.
You have the freaking roadmap pulled up, so you can
Yeah.
tell me right now. But like the last licensed killer or the last, I guess, chapter for the year we're going to get is going to be in November, right?
Correct. So we're getting we'll get to this, but I'll just go ahead and say we're getting 1 new killer and 2 new survivors for that chapter. No new map.
Okay. Yeah, and I know a lot of people's concerns is that it's going to be another Resident Evil chapter, which I don't really care. I don't know why people are upset at that prospect. Like, I guess I could kind of see it, but like also at the same time, like it's another Resident Evil chapter. I'm not really gonna say no to that.
Well, Capcom has been very vocal about wanting more content in Dead by Daylight, from what
Yeah.
I've been seeing. So that's it could quite possibly be.
It's the safe bet.
Yeah. So there's also a lot of other things that's going on, like in July. So if we skip past June and go to July, we get 2 new licensed chapter survivors. And
Yep.
the big rumor mill for that is that it's Walking Dead. And I don't know. There's also another rumor that it's well, there's no rumor about this. The Witcher is coming to Dead by Daylight.
Oh yeah.
So we got The Witcher coming, which is exciting. I really, really am excited about this. I like The Witcher games and stuff like that, but I don't know. That could be the November license though. You know? We'll bring in a
What,
killer. The Witcher, yeah. It could be.
I don't know about that.
Or it could be next year. They didn't really specify if it was going to be in year 10, did they? If they did,
The Witcher stuff?
yeah.
It's gonna come out in like June 2nd.
Wait, is it?
Yeah, and it's not gonna be characters, they're just gonna be like legendary skins.
Oh, well, see, I didn't know that. I thought it was going to be more than that.
They
Huh.
kind of broke it all down when they announced
Oh, that's
everything.
right. Yes, okay. I remember people are upset because Kate's getting a legendary skin from that and others.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I had a brain fart.
Yeah, he isn't going to be a character. I mean, he, technically speaking, kind of is, but they're just gonna slap his, stuff on all like an existing. I forgot who it was.
It was
Felix, Vittorio. I don't know.
Vittorio.
Okay, yeah. It was gonna be like him. They're just gonna like slap like his model and voice and all that stuff on Vittorio, and that's it. Which is kind of weird, since like I don't know exactly how hard it is to just make a completely new survivor model for like the game. Probably isn't that hard considering like they're like, unlike the killers, the survival models are like almost universal for
Yeah.
both, male and female. So I don't know. It's probably a whole process. I'm not gonna pretend I know how exactly that works, but
So apparently it comes out May 25th. It looks like, or maybe that's Rick and Morty. I don't know. Anyways, whatever. I'm looking at something on Reddit, and so
chasing down conspiracies.
yeah, the artist is getting an outfit. It's I'm gonna probably mess this up. But it's Lesson.
Lesson.
Lesson. The Lesson. So the artist is gonna have a Lesson skin. Vittorio's getting Geralt. Kate is getting Yennefer. Sable is getting Siri. Siri. It's just, I'm afraid my phone was gonna say, "What do you want?" Michaela's getting Triss. The Knight is getting Eridan. And that's it. Yeah, I forgot that. Well, it makes sense that the knight get an outfit like that because I mean it's The Witcher. It's medieval esque, and so
Yeah.
so it makes sense. So the two new survivors for July that also comes out around the same time a new Rift comes out. We're getting 4 new Rifts this year. They come out in July, October, January, and April. And so the two new survivors in the July chapter, there's a lot of speculation who that's going to be, and it's all signs are really pointing to The Walking Dead, or maybe they're bringing out a couple new the Resident Evil survivors. No new killer, but new survivors. Who knows? I heard that too, actually.
I know
So
people are just dreading that there's more Resident Evil.
yeah. So between June and July we get the in-game event, which is basically the anniversary event, and there's a modifier towards the mid to the end of July. And in August we get back 2v8, and in September we get an original new killer and new survivor. I have no idea what this is going to be like. I'm not even going to try to speculate this, but speculating that would be like whatever. Like, are we going to actually get a really cool like killer? Like, what was our last original killer? It was the Houndmaster, right?
Yeah, and I don't think that was very well received.
It definitely was not well received. I
At
was
least
so
by survivors. I
yeah.
haven't, like, again, until the 2v8, I still haven't played normal killer matches, so I have no opinions on, like, any of the latest killers since, like,
Yeah.
Vecna.
There is a lot of speculation that in November there's a lot of things going around. Okay. Now it's been said that Matthew Cote has said that they have a lineup, like, because there's new people trying to say, hey, we would like to have our product in DBD, and they've got like a 3 to 5 year waiting list for new stuff like that. So it's like they've got it planned out at least 3 years in advance. So they know what's coming. Of course they do. They got to do all the designs and everything. So
Yeah, it's like a whole year, like, that the killers are, like, in development before we even see them, so
yeah.
really, that's what I remember that they said, like, even before, like, the reveal trailer for the killer, like, the character's already been, like, a year in the making, so, like, like, everybody's talking about, like, Springtrap and, like, all the future characters, like, right now, they're probably developing, like, the next batch of characters and, killers
Yeah.
for next year, which is, like, something I also wanted to, like, say really quick after, like, back when I told you, like, the last licensed killer, or just the last chapter in general, is going to be in November, because the next chapter we're going to get after that is going to be quite a while, since it's going to be March, since we're
March.
going
Yeah.
to get the last chapter, I guess, for the year, for the roadmap, which is, they're probably doing something. I don't know, like, taking a break and all that stuff is definitely one of them, but, like, usually we would get like a survivor, or, like, like what we just had, which is just like one killer, like in January or February, but, like, I guess we're just going to be waiting until March.
I mean, but in March we don't even get a new killer in March. We get a new
Yep.
survivor and a new realm, which is
Yep.
exciting. I'm yeah, like I don't. Of course, I have no idea. We just got a new survivor in recently. So I can't even remember the survivor's name.
Aurella.
Yeah. But so we gotta wait till March for the new realm. But the new realm, I'm hoping is going to be really cool, especially since it's not a chapter based or not a chapter, a license based realm. It's going to be something original. And to be fair,
I cannot wait for you to hate it. You're going to absolutely hate the new realm. I can already tell.
if it's inside 100%, you can guarantee it.
Oh, it's going to be Trickster's Realm. I can already bet.
You
Bet
know,
money.
and they've been saying that they were going to release a Trickster's Realm for years. Like when they released him, they said, "Well, he will have a realm," you know. So
It's going to be even worse than the freaking cornfields because there will be nowhere to hide. It's all
yeah.
just bright neon.
Oh gosh, I'll have to dress as Neon to hide within the neon.
Gotta dress up as one of the lights.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be like a ghost in Ghostbusters and just hide into one of the objects. Like but that's a whole other game. I will say this though. In November, when we get this new killer and 2 new survivors, we're not getting a map with that. We're also not getting a new map in September. And there's a lot of rumors going around about November, about different things. Let me just run through a couple of these real quick. So number one, okay, so I get a lot of my information from a YouTuber called Schmuckles, and he's
Right.
really good. Before we get into this, he's really good about getting like info. He's got all the odds and ends and you know, and like when there's DBD leaks and stuff like that, he's on it. However, the leaks have been put to bed because behavior is taking action against people that are doing it. Counts are getting banned if they try to release anything. And so yeah, there's a lot. Like there's a bunch of people on Reddit that's where he gets a lot of his stuff, is Reddit and like Discords. Like they actually had a Discord taken down because it was the DBD leaks Discord, which is crazy.
Their own little hideout.
Yeah.
Burned to ashes.
So it was literally like destroyed. And so some of the last things that we got was, you know, so everybody's being really, really tight-lipped about that now because, you know, they're going to get accounts banned and stuff like that. Now, Schmuckle still, you know, reports stuff, but it's less about the, you know, the leaks and more about it's been changed to rumors, you know, and stuff like that, speculation. And they're talking about like devs want Stephen King and Megan in the game, and there's a big rumor going around that Megan is going to be in the game, and I don't know if that's going to be the November release. I highly doubt it, but you know, bringing Chucky into the game really changes a lot of things, and I know Megan's a lot different than that. Like no one's going to go see that Megan 3 movie, at least I'm not. But like, you know, because we had a whole conversation about that. But that's number one. So there's that. And speaking of Stephen King, Pennywise. There's a lot of people that are wanting, like they're saying that Pennywise is going to be in the game, but it's going to be a few years. That's one of the things that they said about the whole 3 years and how it builds up and whatever, and it's going to be further down. Which I can respect that, you know. Another one is The Conjuring, like they bring in the Nun. There's a huge thing for that, like big time. And it's quite interesting because I don't know, the Nun would be a kind of a weird one for me, I think. But you know, it is what it is. And a couple more I want to go through is there's a lot of people saying November because they're saying it's the time is right, that the November is going to be, wait for it, a Vecna chapter, or not so much a Vecna chapter, but a Stranger Things chapter. And they're saying that Vecna is actually like in his Stranger Things form is coming to DBD, and I think it's going to be a whole like, so the only other way they can get away with this is basically like So if you take the roadmap in July, if they made it a Stranger Things roadmap or a thing, you could put Vecna, a legendary Vecna skin on top of the Vecna. And I guess that would count, as a killer, but it's still not, it's just a new skin. It's not a killer. So you could get away with that. But I've been hearing rumors that it's going to be a whole separate Vecna just for, Stranger Things.
No, I
So-
never watched the show, but I'm pretty sure he didn't call himself Vecna. That's what the kids called him.
Right.
Because that's what they named the Demogorgon, if I remember, because they played D&D. So
Right.
like they named the monsters after like, creatures and bosses in the campaigns.
Correct. But he's
So I don't even know if he knows that he calls him that they call him Vecna, or if that's like just a moniker he took up. Again, I never watched the show, so like sure, I mean that's what the people know him as, but for all we know, he calls himself something different.
Well, and to be fair, DBD has a habit of bringing in killers and not calling them by, the stage name that they are given. Like I'm just saying, like there's some that like let's see, like for instance, what's his face? Oh crap, Bubba. Like there's other things that they call him inside of there. Well, maybe not. Well, Bubba's not a good example of that, but I'm talking more like how, say, the Hellraiser, Pinhead. They call him what do they call him? The
Cenobite.
the Cenobite. And stuff like that. So I think there's ways around that to where they could just, give him a different name, and there you go. Like Michael Myers is the Shape, which he's referred to as the Shape in Halloween. That's literally what his end credit was at the first one. I think it was the Shape or something like that.
Yep.
So, there could be ways around that, but there's also still the rumors about Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. I just don't think we're gonna get that, because they swear that there's a Velociraptor type of character, and maybe that's gonna be one of the original chapters. Like they'll change it and just not call it Jurassic World; it'll just be like a dinosaur. So, but also the last one I want to talk about that's been rumor milled for like years now, ever since the court was settled, is Jason. And Arson and I talked about this a little bit. Now, Jason, there was released by the Jason universe, basically, like the people who do their thing. There's an image released of going forward, Jason is going to be looking like this, and it looks like it's. I'm just saying, it looks like it's straight out of like something like Dead by Daylight. Like he's like literally, it looks like a video game.
The copium.
Yeah, but so the thing is if he was the one to come out in December, I'm sorry, November, we would have no map. And that would be a dang shame. You could tie Jason to Springwood, I guess, for like a minute. Because,
absolutely not.
Well, I mean, you could, because he was in Springwood once. Once.
Yeah. But nobody likes that map.
No. But that's the thing is, like, if you bring out Jason, you're going to bring out two survivors with him. And that would be November. And I still think, as much as I pulled for Jason, I kept saying every year, it's his year. I'm sure Arson got tired of me saying it too. Like, he's coming this year. You watch. See
the only time I would find it acceptable is, like I said, if they do it on the 13th anniversary. Like, that literally makes the most sense thematically.
Yeah.
And probably is like, because I don't know, I feel like there have been plenty of talks to get him into the game, but with all the complications of before like everything finally settled and he finally started appearing again, it was just an absolute mess with the whole lawsuit and just everything hitting a standstill. Like, the only Jason content we ever got were like the Never Hike Alone little mini films, which are great by the way. They're on YouTube for free. If you haven't seen them, go see them. The Tommy Jarvis makes a cameo, and well, he literally stars in both of them. So,
Mm.
but yeah, like the fact that like the only Jason content we ever got was in fan films for that long, it it was really it's been rough for the big J man. It's just been really slow, and it kills me because like it was good. It was really good, especially with the game. Like the game was so much fun. I loved the game so much. Like
Oh, it was so good.
the voice chat, like just get a group of friends and like those times were unforgettable. But I'm pretty sure I already touched on that in like another episode. But oh yeah, it was just so much fun. And but yeah, since then, like it's probably just been a huge hassle just to even like get into discussions of getting him into the game, which I feel like now it's probably a lot easier, but like they're still trying to like plant their feet down because it's just been such a long hiatus. And while yes, being in Dead by Daylight would be a huge boost. It would be a boost to like his uh him coming back into the scene as a slasher. I feel like you just got to give it a bit of time. Like multiverses did not help.
No, it
Like
did not.
he was still fun to play as, but like the fact that the game just got axed in the end anyways, that probably isn't going to help with the fact of him getting into any other stuff anytime soon. Uh but like, give it some time. Like, I'm sure he'll appear even if it isn't the 13th anniversary, which I feel like would be the most thematic. That's still quite a ways away.
It's 3 years.
And
Yeah.
like in
Whoa.
between all that, I feel like whether it's the 11th anniversary or maybe even next year, who knows? Uh, that would be great. Like just seeing him because he's the final piece of the puzzle, really. Like to have like basically nearly all of the classic slashers all together again.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd still like to see Pumpkinhead. Like, to me, he is a classic slasher. I'm just saying. But yeah, I get what
I
you're
know, I
saying.
know
The
some, I
Trinity,
know some
basically.
people. Yeah, I know some people. Like since like Springtrap is going to be like the first huge indie IP. I know some people want Aooni as a killer in the game, which is
Mm.
hilarious. I think he would be a great addition. I don't know how they would fit him. I know that the creators of Aooni are actually, pretty active in like, actually, putting out like I think they just put out another game or they're going to put out another game and like they're trying to get the character out more, which is hilarious. I like the guy. Like he is a pretty big you know icon in the
Hmm.
indie development scene. He was pretty big in that. Um so I would like to see him as well. Like I know some people out there have now that Springtrap is out, people are just like, coming out with their ideas for another indie representation in the game. And it's pretty exciting. Like again, like um I know a lot of people have their complications with it. I know mostly because like, you know, the Springtrap fatigue is a pretty big one, but like I do love when an IP comes out and it just opens so many doors
Hmm.
for the game. And the doors are already all the doors are open for a game like Dead by Daylight. Like the possibilities really are endless.
Yeah.
Um but like yeah, it's just nice to see like people getting excited about like oh well they added this guy, so this guy is now possible and that makes me excited. And that is true. Like, it's ever since like, uh I feel like Springtrap was going to happen inevitably, even though people said it wasn't. But like, I think the one that took me out was the fact that we got Tokyo Ghoul, an anime representation in the
Right.
game. So it's just like, man, those guys really got a lot of tricks up their sleeves.
Yeah, and it's meshing well, even though I may not like the killer. Like everything is meshing pretty well. And when you talked about the indie representation, like another one that's a pretty good indie film, at least, is Art the Clown, and
Yep.
there's talks of Art the Clown because the creator of Art the Clown wants him in DVD. He's stated that multiple times. He's reached out to Matthew Cote on like Twitter, formerly Twitter, now
Yeah,
X.
the dude is basically on his knees.
I
He's
mean,
on his knees begging, and like I'm not opposed. Like again, more clowns the better. Even though
yeah.
that is a really twisted clown.
Ooh,
But
could you picture this? Hold on, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but could you picture this? So we get Art the Clown, and then we end up getting Pennywise, and you give them 3 legendary skins for killer clowns.
you know what? I would be happy if like next year it was just clown killers.
Well, of course you would.
Just nothing but clown killers. I'd be pretty happy with it.
So
I know a lot of people wouldn't.
yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that have
That-
that fear, like big time.
That would be the most controversial like year for Dead by Daylight ever.
Yeah.
Just nothing but clowns. I'd probably be one of the only people that would be ecstatic about that.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, look at
I-
all this, so colorful.
I would say one thing. If we did get Art the Clown, it's probably a couple years away. I think. A
It's
lot
in
of
the horizon.
Yeah, a lot of people want the Candyman too, and he was supposed to come out a couple years ago. The rumor mill said that, like to follow the movie that they came out with, and I
Yeah,
would love.
I would love Candyman, but
Yeah,
it just
Tony
wouldn't be
Todd.
the same. It wouldn't be the same since like they can't get Tony Todd to voice him unless they like get they get
Voice lines from
clips
the movie.
film.
Yep,
Yeah, voice lines from the film.
that's what I was thinking. But going back on Jason real quick, this is going to be the last thing I say about the whole Friday the 13th thing. But this is the 45th anniversary of Jason this year, and it would coincide possibly with the release. So we would have that possibly. It may not be on the 13th, like you said, but it would be like, like 45th year. You know what I mean? That's a big deal.
And as long as he's released on a 13th, I
Yeah.
don't care.
The only problem with that is when we finally do get Jason, I feel like the skins are gonna be scarce, like Michael Myers scarce, or Freddy scarce actually. Because if they came out with Freddy skins, then we'd actually get the original, and I'd rather have that than what we have now. But
I don't know though. I feel like compared to a lot of the a lot of the classic slashers in Dead by Daylight, well, the only one that I remember that actually does have a lot of skins is Leatherface.
yeah.
People don't use him,
Well,
but he has more skins than everybody else.
and they
Or at
took
least
some
the
away.
slashers. Yeah,
So we're not going to talk about that
With-
though.
but with Jason, I feel like he's got quite a lot in his repertoire. I mean, he has all of his like parts, like even like part 5, I guess, if you want to involve that,
Yeah.
even though it wasn't him. You have the Savini skin, which I think is his best looking skin ever. His Freddy versus Jason look, his obviously
X.
obviously Uber Jason. Part 4, I think
Mhm.
that was like the most iconic one, aside from part 7. I think part 7 is also the most iconic Jason look for him.
Yeah.
Like he's got quite a lot. Of course, his sackhead look, his first run around.
But we won't see
and then
that if it's licensed through the other owner part of Jason, like the company. We won't see that because that's the first one, and they don't own the rights to that anymore. So
I mean, who owns the rights for the reboot? For the reboot one, because in that one he also wore a sackhead.
oh, I don't know.
Because I mean I understand like that
Yeah.
exact look with like the overalls and all that. Like yeah, I get it, but like I think in that he just wore the sack. I guess it could be like a a ghost face situation where it would just be a headpiece.
Yeah. Well,
Although I would like the overalls, like that's a
yeah.
pretty great look for him.
The thing is, though, is with Friday the 13th, it's real iffy on the details, you know, with everything that's going on with them.
Yeah.
So you know, shut. So sorry, I had to cut out for 1 second.
But yeah, no, like I feel like compared to all the others, though, I think he's great in the skin department.
Yeah.
It just really depends on like the licenses and all that for like some of the skins specifically.
Dude, I'd still want the 8-bit skin like they had in the actual Friday the 13th game.
NES.
Oh my gosh,
NES
dude.
Jason.
That was so good. He even had his own special music that was the original like music. It was so great. Like
Yeah, I was gonna say if they ever do that, they should really homage like both like the original NES game and the original like the Friday the 13th game by like actually having his little chip tune.
oh yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome. But I mean, will we see him this year? I highly doubt it. Would it be awesome?
Yeah, no, it's low.
I mean, the thing is would it be awesome? Yes. However, if you're releasing Jason, now it could be like a trickster thing, like they promise a map later. But, you know, getting Jason without Crystal Lake would be just a travesty. I'm just saying.
It'd be wrong.
It'd be so wrong. We know that would be an outside map at least. Maybe go through a lot of the houses like you would in like Haddonfield.
There's probably like some cabins.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just unfortunately we'll have to put this Jason topic to bed and figure out if it's gonna happen eventually, you know. It just sucks that, you know, of course Tommy Jarvis would definitely be one of the survivors. He'd have to be. Like he would
Oh, yeah.
absolutely have to be. But with a second survivor, who would you put in there? Like you could do I don't know, something, but
Oh, definitely be a final girl.
yeah.
I guess maybe if I had to say, uh, maybe to represent the reboot, it'd probably be I forgot what well one of the final
Yeah,
girls.
yeah,
to be
yeah.
there. Or it'd probably be like one of the recent like final like well the mainline final parts.
Yeah.
So like probably part 7 or part 8, I think.
Yeah. One of those would be the representatives. I would agree.
Or maybe they could even go like they because like again like time has literally no meaning in the entities realm, and it could
Yeah.
be I forgot her name, but the lady from part 4 who was I think Tommy's babysitter and then
Oh
like killed,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
played a role in killing Jason. So
Yeah.
but I feel like to like represent like a lot, because like that's what they like to do. They like to represent all parts of like the legacy. I feel like Tommy would represent like the earlier half of Jason's life,
Mm-hmm.
and then like I feel like they would pick the second survivor from a point in Jason's later life,
Right.
like towards the end, or one of like the reboot, like whichever one. I feel like that's what they would pick the survivor from.
Yeah.
Again, though, if they just made it like strictly Jason and Tommy, I wouldn't complain.
Right.
As long as we get Crystal Lake, I'm a happy man.
I mean, we really need that realm. Like Crystal Lake can't be something you paste on top of another map. It's got to be its own realm. It's got to be, Haddonfield. It's got to be Springwood. It's got to be a new realm. And yeah, I don't see anybody.
It's certainly seen days.
I know Haddonfield was like one of my favorite maps of all time, and now like it's such a killer map now because they've closed off so much.
I hated Haddonfield since the moment it came out.
Really? See, I loved it.
I've never liked Haddonfield.
It was such a good survivor map though, and now
Well,
it's
I
more.
get it. Yeah, sure. Like I still hated it. Both
Yeah.
sides, even. I hated it. I just hated it in general.
Yeah. All right, real quick. Before we finish up, we went through pretty much the year 10 roadmap. Of course, that starts as soon as the ninth anniversary comes out, and that's the year 10 roadmap. That's what we just went through. We get 4 rifts. One coincides with the chapter license for chapter release. We got a couple 2v8s, a couple modifiers, which I'm not really big on the modifiers. I don't really do the modifiers.
Yeah, it's kind of whatever.
There's nothing to gain off of them because they never give you anything like extra to get off of them. Now, maybe since they've changed some of the aspects of the way you do the rift now, maybe they'll change that a little bit. I don't know how that's going to work because they've done a lot of changes in DBD that have been confusing, and I don't like. It's nice that you can have multiple. So I do like that how you can like pin a bunch up to like up to 15, I think it is. Challenges at once, and that'll granted, just because you pin them doesn't mean that it's not going to track the other ones. They track all of them, but the ones that you pin are the ones that you can see regularly, like outside the map and all that, outside of the match. But I really like somewhat the way they did that, but it made it confusing because the biggest confusing change to me, and this may be stupid for you guys, are going to look at me like, oh, Phoenix, why are you so stupid? But they changed the color from gold to blue on like the total, well, not the totem, the blood web and the perks and stuff like that. Like it's just really weird. Why out of the blue, pun intended, would you just do that? Like seriously, why would you do that? Like it's been yellow for all this time, and you just like, well, you know what? I think blue would look nice in there. Like why? I don't understand.
Probably more pleasant on the eyes, and they probably just have like future things planned that like they had to rework the yellow.
Yeah.
Which again, like I am of like I didn't like the yellow color. Like the blue is pleasant to look at least for me, but like I am of the agreement that like we are this far into the game's life cycle, and you made a change like that.
Right.
It's gonna whiplash a lot of people. Like it whiplashed me. Like I'm like, whoa, that doesn't look right. That's different. That's changed. Why is this changed? And like, yeah, I adapted to it pretty fast.
Yeah,
like, it's just the way it is. But like, it is just like it's just a weird thing to do.
I just see behavior out there, be like, let's shake things up. Like,
yeah, let's shake things up by not shortening the queue times. Let's change rarity colors.
We're gonna change rarity colors and then not worry about getting tunneled. And and that's the thing is, I did want to talk about this too, is the balancing and improvements that they're making on the gameplay. And they are going all out to try to fix some of that stuff, but killers adapt like big time. Like would they implement it, the anti camping, where you gain status like momentum as the killer hangs around you, and you can get yourself off the hook, the 100% chance once that bar fills. But killers found their range, and they'll sit outside that range and wait. And like seriously, now they just it's more of a proxy camp now than it is a camp. But a killer's so fast that they can get back to the hook as you're getting unhooked, or as you're unhooking yourself, and then just tunnel. And I like that they implemented the abandon feature. I have used that quite a lot because we've had a lot of toxic killers. And I'm not going to say the other side is any better, because I've been watching some clips of this guy, and I've like literally put a thumbs down on every one of their videos, because it's all him trolling killers. And I think that's so stupid. Like really, like the one guy that came in as the killer looked like he was fairly new, and or he or she, and this guy was just trolling like crazy. There's this build that's getting popular, to where you have the Jane perk, where you jump out of the locker to stun the killer head on, and then you got DS, and then you got the Leon perk that gives you the frag or whatever, the
Flashbang.
flashbang. There we go. So, and basically what they do is and then they use quick and quiet. That's like the build. And so what they'll do is they'll run into a locker and they'll let a killer see them do it. Like they'll get into a locker slow, and then the killer will pull them out and they'll use DS. Now, if they're using DS on them, that means the killer is tunneling, right? You know, it's got to, you know, so some of it's justified, but some guys just troll people just to do it. And like they'll teabag to get them to follow. They don't show that part, but I guarantee a lot of times, especially this guy, the way he acts. So they'll hop in and get pulled out, and DS will happen, and then he'll hop in another locker right next to him, and then like we'll jump out with head on, drop a frag, and they already had another frag lined up. So it's like that'll blind the killer, and then they'll quick and quiet into a locker, and then the killer will look around for them, and then go in front of that locker, and then in the meantime they'll get another frag or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and then they'll burst back out, and then drop another one, and then run. And it's like, man, if you got to be that toxic, you got to think about that kind of a build to do that. I actually set up a build to test that, to see what it was going to be like, and I can't get it. Like, I'm not that good to work it to that. I can admit it. I'm used to my 4 perks, and I like my 4 perks. I stay in my own realm of my 4 perks, and I leave it there. But the way that this guy does it is, it's just like, man. And so that's saying that I know there's a lot of survivors out there that are just trash, like toxic trash, and I get it. It's just as bad on one side as the other. But you're talking to a survivor main, so I mainly deal with killers. And when I go into a match, I usually have between 2 and 3 people with me, always. So we usually always have like a full team, you know, a Swift. And so I don't have to deal with randos most of the time, unless, you know, I can only find one person to hang out, and then we have 2 randos or whatever, or 1 rando, and if we have 2 others with me, and you know, and it's just it gets to the point to where you get so many horrible killers out there that, you know, some of them are justified because of the way they've been treated, but also, you know, some of them are the reason why the killer or the survivors act like that. So it's not, and it's not a way to fix it, you know, like.
Nope. It's an eternal war.
It is, and it's never going to right itself. But the problem is when FNAF launches, we're going to get a lot of new people.
It's up to us. We're going to be the shepherd.
But that's the
But
thing,
no,
though.
like,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, we're gonna have to play our part in, like, you know, helping a lot of these new people, because, like, it's going to be a lot of new killers and a lot of new survivors.
Yeah.
Like, these are going to be fresh faces, like, and not only that, but, like, there's also going to be a lot of, like, you know, YouTubers on the scene, because, you know, like, FNAF is a big thing, you know, they're gonna want them views, understandable. You know, they're gonna come in, they're gonna try and, you know, play it out, and it's not going to work out so well because, you know, from the outside looking in, like, yeah, Dead by Daylight is, you know, the horror hall of fame. It's, you know, the place where people go to get their thrills and all that stuff. A lot of people don't know about, like, you know, it's basically us sitting in our, like, table, and then there's that huge kiddie table that, like, takes up like 90% of the room, where it's just food being flung everywhere, you know, just kids being stomped on. I think someone got, like, freaking pile drive through the table, but, like, it's an absolute mess. Like, it's going to be like a disaster, and, like, that's the last thing, like any, you know, fan, like any person that's a part of, like, a community, they don't want new people to come in and basically just see that, but that's what they're going to get, because that's like a majority of the player base, and that sucks to say, but yeah, surprise, surprise, a lot of people here suck.
Yeah.
and that's how it's going to be for a lot of the time. But that's like the last thing I want because, like, again, I hate the game, but I still love it.
Yeah.
Like, I know I rag on it a lot, but like, this
A
is still
lot.
a game I had. This is still a game I had memories on. It's still a game I, played with my friends. It's still a game whose lore I still want to discover. Like, I love the way like they create the characters. I love the way they tie in licenses into the universe. Like it's like a fascinating concept, and they expand upon it. Where like we don't even know what's going on anymore, but I'm here for it. Like I'm along for the ride. And like the last thing I want is like, for people to be turned away because of this like squabble that like everybody has and is only going to get worse because, of the problems we literally just stated before with,
Yeah.
the spring trap fatigue. And, it's going to be like a lot of our jobs to like, try and ease a lot of people into the experience because it's not going to be easy. Like a lot of people are going to be, turned away from toxicity or like, the way the game is played or like the way people are telling them to play the game, which is not how it, people need to find their own way. Like, they can be guided, they can be, uh, you know, told like, given some advice on like, here's how you do that, or here's how you play survivor, here's how you play this specific killer. But like it's up to them to find their own way, and it's up to us, I'm talking to you scumbags as a community to guide and ease people in to not make their introduction so miserable. That may have been our upbringing, but it doesn't have to be theirs.
Right.
So let's ease up a bit, yeah. You know, because this is going to be a huge chapter. There's going to be a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers, a lot of newbies, and let's just can we just put a pin in it for just a little bit, please? I know it's such an impossible task to ask, but you know, let's try and make the future just a little bit brighter.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is you can't undercut how big of a chapter this is. We may only be getting a new killer and a rework of a map, but this brings in so much potential because there's going to be add on to this. They're definitely going to be adding on to this. Maybe not this year, but it's going to have more content brought in. Would you agree with that?
Cosmetics.
Yes.
Yeah, so many cosmetics.
So that being said, I, and and I'm not a big FNAF person, but this has got to be one of, if not the biggest chapter to come into DBD ever. And yeah, like I would say probably like Myers or Bubba when they first made their on scene appearance, that was pretty big. Bubba didn't even get a map though, so yeah, he didn't even get a rework of a map. But
he didn't even get a rework. He's still his same old chainsaw happy soul.
Exactly. He's just wearing other people's faces and doing his thing, like,
and they took that away as well.
They did. But I would say that this is probably the biggest chapter DBD has ever put out. Like, for real. Because of, like, I mean, I wouldn't say they're competing. Now if FNAF was a 1v4 type of layout like them, then yeah, that would be a competing thing. But anybody that tries to go up against Dead by Daylight loses. Everybody. It's just the community. As much as the community loves this game, we hate ourselves for playing the game. So that's kind of like a little short, ball right there of wax that I could throw at you. But I get what you're saying, because when I come across new people, and Arson can back me on this one, because I like to take new people under my wing and kind of like just try to help them best I can. Not try to make them like me, but at least not like make them a complete gen jockey or stuff like that. Like, don't be, look, when I first started playing this game, and I've said this before, when I started playing this game, I was alone. And I would sneak around the map like, oh crap, what the heck did I get myself into? And I was not using, because what brought me, like, my first survivor that I used was Ash, and so I really, because I started playing DBD November 2017. So that's when I started playing Dead by Daylight. It was in between the Nightmare on Elm Street and Saw chapters. And so Ash was already in there, and I would use him, and I was like, oh, that really made me want to play the game. But after playing the game, I realized, no, I found my Nia and I stuck with her. But I like to take people under my own wing and try to help them grow as a survivor, and help them to be more of a team player, not someone that's a selfish team player, a selfish player. But I don't try to make them like, they're going to have their own play style. Let them do that. I'm not expecting them to be like have a savior complex like me. Like I'm always trying to save people. I'll literally, instead of being on a gen, and I'm sure this gets on some people's nerves, and Arson's probably one of them. Instead of being on a gen, I will follow the killer and survivor and wait to get the flashlight save. like stuff like that. And I know that gets on people's nerves because I am, like, I'm DBD Jesus. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Right.
But yeah, like, and everything that we've endured in this game, in this whole time I've played, I still love it. And I've met some of my best friends playing this game. Not Arson. I met him when I was playing Ghostbusters. so
I was the lucky exception.
Yeah, you and Jan. Well, there's a few others too, but yeah, like, literally I didn't have to, go at Arson like, yeah, we met DBD. No, we met it at a little bit more of a wholesome game, which, it's, as much as it is like DBD, is nothing like DBD. Just the standard, format, But yeah, I love this game and I always will. The people, not so much. People come in to streams and stream snipe and cheat. I've seen a lot of craziness. There was this one clip I watched where this guy was cheating like crazy and still lost. Like, he had a speed hack and he still lost. So how do you lose with a speed hack? like straight up, like, you're that bad of a player that you have to do that. I may not be a great player, but I'm not so bad that I have to cheat, and I'll never get. Yeah, exactly. I may lose a lot, but I feel like that we get our fair share of wins too. And we have our fun in the game. There's times we can get killers to, lighten up and hang out with us and yeah. So, but Road, Year 10 Road looks pretty nice, pretty promising. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do this year with the two new, chapters that are come out that are like one killer, one survivor, or two survivors, and a new realm, September and March, respectively. It seems like DBD is always bringing out new content. I mean, it's pretty amazing the way that they release so much stuff. Like, they stay relevant when other games have just become dead, and I like that. I'm glad that we have this community that we can play this game with, and then, but we'll see. Like I said, it looks promising. I hope that they are able to take some of those improvements and balancing and really actually make a change. But all that's going to do is, like, upset killers, and they're going to whine, and then they'll make changes to that. Like, the biggest problem I think right now is slugging. A lot of people slug worse than ever. And I just, it is what it is. But I don't know. Any final thoughts there, Arson, before we bow out?
It's a tough road, and I don't blame you if you get off it, but just remember, You chose this.
Nobody likes a quitter.
Well, nobody likes a quitter, Steve. So get back on your feet and keep running those killers or killing those survivors. Because one literally can't live without the other. It's a twisted symbiotic relationship, and
So-
that's what we're all here for.
So twisted. so twisted.
But yeah,
Well
you know,
said.
if you're a new player, welcome aboard. Can't wait to see you in the fog, and try not to take it too seriously because I stopped taking it seriously since 2018.
Yeah. If you are a new player and you want to hook up with some experienced DVDers, you know, Arson and I or anybody else in my community, you know, we've got a link in the description, and it'll literally take you to our Twitches, and you can find us through there. And if you want, we can take you under our wing and help you the best we could to try to adapt to the situation. It's going to be a rough
Yeah,
one.
we're a safe, unstable bunch. So like,
Yeah, we'll take good care of you.
do not be alone when this chapter drops. That's the last thing you want. Do not, unless you're a killer. But even then, still, do not be alone. At least have a friend by your side. You know, make sure you're having a good time, alright? Because if you're miserable, then there's really no point in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and with this new killer coming out, you know, with Springtrap coming out, you know, there are going to be a lot of new players that are going to get like they'll start off like, yeah, I think this is going to be good, and then they're going to get ran like crazy because the MMR scale is crap.
Yeah, they're gonna get completely flatlined. Like, yeah, just always make sure you're with like somebody. You're, you know, like make sure you're like in a good friend group. You got you got someone by your side, or like, you know, if you're doing Survivor, you know, all that stuff still applies. Like, just make sure you're with, you know, someone. And even better if like they have experience with the game because, you know, they're already used to the madness. You know, make sure to have a guiding hand. Unless you have the mental fortitude of Batman, then best of luck to you when you enter the fog. 'Cause
Sorry.
you are unbreakable.
Yeah, exactly. Those are a lot of good tips. Also, I would say that if you are coming in as a new killer, I would take it with a grain of salt. If you get a bunch of toxic swifts, and to be fair, when you get toxic people, they will be most likely in a duo or trio or in a quartet, whatever. But they're not usually the toxic ones aren't alone. They usually have friends. And if you get into that situation, yeah, in squads, if you get in that situation, just don't play along. Go away. Let them finish their match and move on. It's not like you're going to lose. Like they took that away a long time ago. Like last year, you're not going to lose pips. So you're not going to degrade because of a bad match. You just go hide and just let them do their thing. And, you know, don't play into it.
Go make a sandwich.
Go make a sandwich or two if you're playing 2v8 as killer. But yeah, I mean, that's the best advice I think both of us can give is, you know, just try not to change unless you're toxic and then change. But just try to be the best you could be. You know, remember people like to play this game and we want to be enjoyable. Yes, there's a whole ongoing battle about entitled survivors, entitled killers and whatnot. And that we as survivors like to have, you know, you need to follow these rules, you know, no tunneling, no camping, you know, just remember tunneling and camping is not against the community guidelines, but it's, you know, it doesn't make the game fun. You know, if you're to the point to where you are unable to chase somebody because you lack the skill as of right then and there, practice. That's how you do it. You practice. That's how you get better. You don't get better by hooking somebody and just sitting there right out of range where they can't get off the hook, or just constantly tunneling people off the hook. And if for anybody new that doesn't know what tunneling means, tunneling is basically when you hook somebody and they get off the hook and you could drop chase to go back after that person that you just hooked. and you just relentlessly like pursue this person until they're out of the match. That's tunneling.
In my terms, it's basically like playing freeze tag. You get tagged, and then someone unfreezes you, and then the same person who tagged you immediately gets back onto you again,
That's a
and
good way
then
of putting
tags you, and then you're frozen, and then you complain, and you're like, "That's not fair! You can't do that!"
it.
And then you, in a spite of anger, you break the rules by, unfreezing yourself even though you were frozen and land a flying haymaker at your assaulter.
That's a good way of putting it, really. But yeah. So just remember, if you guys want to know more about us and want to get in contact with us, leave a message or come hang out with us in our stream. Arson's starting to stream more often. So,
Oh,
and I stream pretty regularly. So come hang out with us. And if you have questions, we can answer them. If we can't answer them, we have people in my community that can answer. I promise you. We are DBD aficionados. Did I say that right? Anyways,
something
So,
like that. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not showing them my application.
but yeah. So, anyways, guys, I think that's it for us. The last 10 minutes has just been us like talking to you, the viewer, about it's like, hey, like, let us help you.
Yeah, the tunnel is really bleak, but there are some lights in there, I swear.
Yeah, and there are. Trust me, if the game like didn't have any reason for me to go back to it, I wouldn't. But if I get the thing is if I get upset as Survivor, I play Doctor. So so yeah. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I don't have to go do the thing because I've already stated it twice, basically. But I hope you guys have a good week. We'll be back next week with another rare and topic, and we're supposed to have Ocean with us, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We'll see. Ocean just graduated today, which if you're listening to this on Monday, it's Saturday. He graduated on from college. He's a college grad now, so congrats to him.
Throwing his cap in the hair.
Yeah.
Cap in the hair. Yep.
Yep. So
cap in the hair. That's exactly what I meant.
In the hair. I wasn't even going to say anything about that. I was just going to move on. But guys, just have a great week. Summer's right around the corner for anybody that's getting out of school. This is my last week of school as teaching, and then I'm off for 10 weeks. So, just enjoy it, and we'll see you next week.
Deuces.